responsible for the strategic objectives of the organization, and I'll say it, Melinda, the board is responsible for hiring you, right, folks? I mean, we got some of the folks on that team. And so the board is really excited about all the work that the staff does. And one of the things that I say to people a lot is, I get to take credit for all the great work you're doing. And you know, as we look to the future, Tina, I think our future is bright here at the Wisconsin affiliate, and I'm proud when I step into the ACLU board president's meeting, because this affiliate is a leader among the affiliates at the ACLU.
Thank you. So as I mentioned in the lead up to that question, we are considered a battleground state, and the election is 40 days. I just stopped counting. 40 days away. So, you know, as that, what do you think some of the key priorities and challenges for our state, and how is this affiliate addressing those challenges?
Okay, we're going to talk about this multiple times, but I don't think it's ever going to be enough. So there's a variety of work that the affiliate's already doing. There's general voter education, where everybody should know how to vote, make sure that they are registered to vote, make sure that they know where they're going to vote, that everyone should have a plan for voting on top of that. So what time, who with, have you contacted at least 3 to 5 people in your life, and make sure that they have a plan as well. And remember that there are plenty of us that live in the state that can't vote. And so for those folks that are blocked and cannot vote because of immigration status, or maybe they're still on papers, it is our duty to show up and vote in an informed way. So that's number one. So if you haven't done your homework and you haven't made your plan yet, I implore you to do so, number one. Number two, if you have not reached deeply into your networks and asked the question, not are you registered, but do you have a plan? And if folks don't know, there's plenty of resources on our website to be able to help them. So that's one. That's the general stuff that we do all the time. It's not an election cycle kind of thing. That's one. Two, are we activating and canvassing? Yes, we are. We are building up our field program, and we have a number of those folks here tonight who I'm proud to be with in this room. And so are we canvassing to make sure that folks know and they can make informed decisions in the 61st? Yes, we absolutely are. There's also other vital work, which I'm sure that Ryan in particular will talk about later, which is election protection work. And not just election protection work, but in a battleground state like this, and I don't mean to overstate this at all, but if there is one state in the country that everybody has eyes on right now, it is, for better or worse, stress involved, it is Wisconsin. And every time the polls come out, it is clear that it is so close that it is still going to be Wisconsin. And every day that approaches, that has not changed. And so we continue to be the center of the universe. And that's incredibly stressful for anyone who cares about civil rights and civil liberties. And so it is our job then to be a steady hand in doing election protection so that our elections operate the way that they're supposed to, that people who have the right to vote can, that on election day those problems are solved so that there don't need to be lawsuits later, and to make sure that folks that are responsible for conducting those elections do so and don't undermine the process, so that we can all believe in it. And all of those things are already in progress and happening.
It's a lot.
It's an awful lot.
Yeah.
How many days is it?
40.
Great.
I'm gonna know now. It's good. So last question, quickly. So just in like one sentence answer, I figure one sentence, you'll both can handle that. I'm holding you to it. So we know that the ACLU is a huge umbrella organization with a scope of civil rights and civil liberties. So besides voting rights, defending democracy, what is one other issue, one other thing that you are most excited about when it comes to the work of the ACLU?
Systemic equality agenda.
Yeah.
I did it, folks.
There you go.
I know y'all didn't think I could see now.
That's good.
I'm going to stick with his answer and just say, so you know what that means. There is no justice without basic needs being met, and so that means education and housing and a number of other things that make it possible. How can you possibly concentrate on voting if you don't have your basic needs met? And there is absolutely no way to pull issues apart. And so that and community should be the basis of all the work we do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Melinda and William. We're going to bring up Sinetta and Paris now for another trivia question.
All right, guys, we have another question coming for you. So this time we're going to ask you, do you have the right to record police officers?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, I think everyone got the answer right. Yes. So,
Everybody gets a pin?
Yes, they're outside the door.
so yes, this does fall under the First Amendment, your right of freedom of speech and freedom of press, your right to record government officials.
Thank you. That's the question this time.
All right. Good man. Great. So we're going to bring up Melinda, and she's going to be interviewing with us tonight Ryan Cox, our new legal director. So I will pass my mic over to Melinda, and you guys can chat.
Thanks, Tina. Appreciate it. Ryan is not so new. His anniversary of working here for 1 year is actually next week. And so I'd like to embarrass him publicly if you would let me. Will you please give him a round of applause? But really, he's a fantastic colleague, and I'm very grateful for his partnership in this work. We talked a little bit about this in advance, but one of the things that I like, there's a lot of things I like about Ryan, but one of the things that I like best about Ryan is his philosophy for lawyering. And would you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming to the ACLU of Wisconsin from a career of doing civil rights work down in Texas, I was really interested to inherit such an amazing legacy of decades and decades of people committing their entire careers to this work in Wisconsin. And, so I really wanted to think about, as we're building a legal team and deciding what work we want to work on, what is going to be the driving force of that work and the way that we underpin everything that we do. And I came across some research that many other nonprofit organizations have utilized in the past about what it means to be a community lawyer. And I think the best way to describe being a good community lawyer is that we want to make sure that the work that we're doing is the work that's important to our communities. And on the flip side of that, we want to make sure that the work that we're doing doesn't conflict with other priorities that the community might have. So we want to give the community veto power over the cases that we bring. We want to make sure we're having conversations with members of the community, the impacted folks, people who are the most impacted by government action, and make sure that we're really on the same page as far as the work that we prioritize, and not doing it because we know it's going to end up in the newspapers, right? And so being a good community lawyer, I think, is what underpins all of this work and really allows us to guarantee that what we're doing is the right thing.
That's a great answer. That's also a very real answer. I know that over the course of the last year, we've been making some changes, and so some of those are about legal intake, and some of those are about the new teammates that we have. And in case you missed it, there's a wonderful annual report where you can read all about it, so by all means, please pick one of those up. But would you like to talk about a couple of those pieces? Because I think people don't necessarily know the volume outreach that we get asking for our help, and I think that the way that we handle that and ethically matters a great deal. So.
Yeah, I'd love to talk first about our team,
Yes.
which is, I absolutely love our team here at the ACLU of Wisconsin. We're still hiring another staff attorney. If you know anybody that might be interested, we're trying to grow a little bit more. But I kind of came into this position inheriting a couple of great folks. Tim Muth and Dr. Emma Shakeshaft, great attorneys who've worked for this organization for years and years and dedicated so much of their time, and especially Tim Muth, who helped shepherd the transition of the legal team across leadership as our interim legal director, has been such a great help. We were able to poach away Haley Archer, an amazing attorney with a background in employment litigation, to help us lead our LGBTQ work, our work on reproductive rights, as well as work in schools as well. And then our fantastic, amazing paralegal, Nora Calvinet, who's been with the organization for years now. We're so happy to have her help shepherd what I think you were talking about, Melinda, really the transition and the restructuring of how we go about taking requests from the community and how we handle those requests. So over the course of the last year since I've been here, we've rebuilt that system from scratch. We do get somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 requests for legal assistance every year, and every single one of those requests is reviewed by our team, especially Nor and folks that volunteer to help with her piece of the work. And all of those folks, even if we can't help them, they get resources from the community, they get referrals to other lawyers in the community who might be able to assist them, and so we do not leave anyone hanging. That's 3,000 people a year from the community that we're going to talk to. Now that is extremely difficult to do with such a small team, but by rebuilding our intake system, moving to an online version and streamlining a lot of the process, we've kind of cut the time per intake by about 2/3, which is amazing, allowed us to catch up on like months of backlog of this thing, all these intakes that we've had, and so I'm really proud of the team, and especially Nor for like helping shepherd all that process through.
I think you are. Sorry, not sorry, Nor. Also Haley, also not sorry. But you mentioned legal intake, and I know that we were talking about, while we're setting our agenda all across the organization, thinking about what should be on the legal docket. So can you say a little bit about what kind of intakes we get, what are the most common kinds of intakes that we get, as well as where you would like the work to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's undisputable. The most intakes that we get are related to folks currently facing incarceration or criminal charges of some kind. It's far and away the most requests that we get. They're some of the hardest things to handle, especially since we don't do criminal law directly. But building the new system that we built also gives us the chance to track data across years and across months. Even for folks that we can't help directly in the moment, we're able to track that and say, we want to know about every complaint we've ever gotten from Techeetah, like correctional institution, right? We can look that up now, we can find every single person, use that data to go collect, find witnesses, find plaintiffs for lawsuits in the future. And so, our system is great in that respect. I think in the future, there's some things we'll always get an intake that we can't handle. Folks looking for criminal defense assistance, things like that. We're always, with the small team that we have, we're always going to be focused on impact litigation, which means that we are primarily focused on cases where the cases that we bring and the advocacy that we do will impact hundreds, thousands, millions of people at a time. And it's the best use of our resources to do that. And so those are the cases through intake that we're trying to pick out. We're trying to find those folks, bring those types of cases across, especially criminal justice reform, policing, LGBTQ rights, First Amendment rights, protesters' rights especially, and in voting rights as well. So those are the core areas that I think we're going to be looking forward to the future of working on, and very excited about it.
Thanks.
We have a little bit of time for one question. If there's a burning question for Ryan, does anyone have? William?
How do you define a detention versus an arrest?
What's a detention versus an arrest?
Well, so the answer to the question I think that was causing maybe a little bit of confusion is that you don't need, Miranda rights are not required unless you're being interrogated. So an interesting thing is that even if you have been arrested, you can be arrested, be sitting in the back of a police car, and if you start talking, all of that evidence is admissible. You don't have to be given Miranda rights just because you're under arrest. It's actually, you have to be in custody and being interrogated. So it's people watch Law and Order and think, oh, they didn't read me my rights on the way to the cop car. They don't have to, and so don't get yourself in trouble, please.
And so you shouldn't what?
Please, just never talk to the police.
All right, we're going to call up our trivia folks here for one quick, another Know Your Rights. rights trivia question. I think we're just do one question.
Shout out to Ryan for clarifying that. So how about another question, you guys? This time, let's have answers by a show of hands. That makes it easier for all these pins that are in my pocket. So, can a police enter your home without a warrant?
Sometimes.
In what city?
I'm gonna go to her, she had her hand raised.
Oh, I thought we were all gonna resign. Yes, they can, because there can be exigent circumstances that circumvent a warrant, not that I agree.
I literally love that word, exigent. Do we have any other volunteers? How about you?
You can volunteer to let them in.
You can volunteer to let them in. So the correct answer is most of the time, no, they cannot. Unless they have a warrant. I think I said the question wrong. Unless they have a warrant, or the police feel as though there's something dangerous or someone is in danger, then they can enter without a warrant.
All right, yeah, I love the sometimes. Sometimes maybe, and sometimes. All right. I'm going to call up now Amanda Merkway, who is our advocacy director. I like to make jokes that she's our own affiliate, C. Carnegie, because there's always a whiteboard around Amanda, and she's always explaining something. And so today she's going to explain, and you can grab that mic right there. She's going to explain some things around the legislative session that we just had, as well as some maps and charts and things. And she's got some slides for you. So take it away, Amanda.
Sure. Well, super happy that y'all are here. Again, to mention 40 days until the election that will determine how exactly the next legislative session at the state level is going to play out. Regardless of the results of the election, it'll be a whole lot of shenanigans and ridiculousness in the Capitol, that we know. But wanted to chat a little bit about how we engaged in the previous legislative session and what we're looking forward to in the next one. So I lead our advocacy department that engages in organizing and grassroots advocacy, policy analysis, lobbying, and community education around civil rights and liberties issues that are moving at the state and at the local level. I'm just endlessly proud of the critical mass of the advocacy team over there who have just and also all the folks that have plugged in across the affiliate and members and supporters who have engaged with us during the 2023-2024 legislative session. Plug on our website. You can find our 2023-24 legislative session report that breaks down a lot of the work we did over the past 2 years as a point of education. Wisconsin is a little unique because our legislative sessions are 2 years long. There's some states where it's either a year long, or there's some states where there's like a month when all this stuff happens, and then you get the rest of the year to kind of chill and plan for the next session. But unfortunately in Wisconsin, having a 2-year session, especially one where it's difficult, it's been an uphill battle trying to have offensive successes when it comes to civil rights and liberties issues. We're playing defense a lot, which means that a lot of times we get notice for a hearing 24 hours in advance, which is like the legal bare minimum. And so what that means is there's a lot of quick sprints for the advocacy team and how we're doing very quick analysis and lobbying to make sure that we're putting our position on the record during the session. I see a hand in the back.
So as far as the 2-year legislative sessions go, do they fall, there's never going to be a legislative session that overlaps an election, correct? It's always going to be, like 2022 to 2024, 24 to 26. It's not going to be like 23 to 25, is it?
So there's always you'll have an an election, so 99 folks in the Assembly, there are 33 folks in the Senate. Half of the Senate is up every 2 years, they serve 4-year terms. The folks in the Assembly serve 2-year terms, so using right now as an example, the November 2024 election, there's half the Senate that's up, all 99 Assembly seats are on the ballot, and then in odd numbered years is when the folks that win will be inaugurated in January, and then the session will run from like January of an odd numbered year through about March, April-ish of the following even numbered year. So there will be, I'm trying to think if that answered your question.
Well, you keep
Okay.
Basically, I was just wondering if any given election would interrupt the legislative session or not.
No, I think is the answer to your question. Yeah, the last legislative session, you see the kind of stats up on the screen of different ways that we engaged. We do a lot of analysis, tracking like bills across so many different issues that fall under kind of the ACLU priority umbrella. So a lot of issues that we're tracking, even if we're not doing a full bill analysis, but only had 4 bills that we supported that were enacted. The vast majority of the time, we're just fighting for things to get vetoed or trying to block it as early in the process as possible. This last session, we witnessed a lot of attacks on LGBTQ rights and just the existence of trans people across state houses nationwide, but also here in Wisconsin. Our legislature introduced a whole package of bills attacking the trans community, and each of those are outlined in the legislative report. Again, plug for the legislative report, and shout out to John, who I'm not seeing, who may still be upstairs, who did a lot of hard policy analysis. John Jones did a lot of work putting together this report. And also, that was a big moment for the team when we showed up at the Capitol. I think it's important to note that when there's a short notice before a bill, and people that are most directly impacted by an issue that want to turn out at the Capitol, that process can just be so dehumanizing and traumatizing, like the process itself. Even before you have to get up and testify live on Wisconsin Eye, dumping your trauma out onto a recording that will live on wisconsineye.org for eternity. But the process, there's so much trauma in the process. You have to get up at the crack of dawn, depending on where you live in the state. You're driving to the Capitol. You're gonna park somewhere in the square and get more than one parking ticket. I cannot go to the square without getting a parking ticket in Madison. They'll put the bills scheduled so that either hearings on the same things are held simultaneously, or they will put it at the bottom of the agenda, the bill that they know that a lot of people are turning out for, so they have to sit there for 8 hours, getting more parking tickets, having to find childcare. And so, one thing that we're trying to think about based on our experiences in the past session and looking forward to the next, are how are all the ways that we can make sure that people can accessibly engage, even if we're kind of the conduit to that engagement with the legislature, because it can be super inaccessible for a lot of folks. Last session, we also saw a lot of attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and attacks on just like basic racial justice wins that have happened over the last several decades, whether it was DEI in the UW system, and the joint resolution that proposed a constitutional amendment to ban state and local government entities from using any form of affirmative action in hiring decisions, public education, and public contracting. There was one victory when it came to racial justice this past session, was a bill that ensured the unique history and experiences of Hmong and Asian American Wisconsinites are included in K-12 instruction in Wisconsin public schools. But that was kind of the one win, and the rest of it was pretty brutal that we were fighting against. We also engaged in a lot of work related to police, prisons, and criminal legal reform. Again, just fighting for that veto, and what are the pressure points in the system that we can take to just reduce harm, because there's a lot of bills that across both parties folks are willing to push along without digging deep on all of the collateral consequences of things that might sound like it would be helpful. Voting rights, also a big issue this past session, and some privacy and surveillance bills that we engaged deeply on. But see if we can move to the next. Also want to highlight some really big missed opportunities. So these are some issues that have tremendous bipartisan support. There are, if you look at the registration online of who's registered for or against the bills, each of these bills has like 30 or more, across the state, some of them like we think about expungement, like when you have like the sheriffs and deputy sheriffs registering in support, and the Badger Institute and the ACLU, like that should tell you something. So expungement was another missed opportunity that we're going to really push for again next session. Also ensuring protections for Indigenous students to wear tribal regalia. Supporting DACA recipients. There was a package of bills that had significant bipartisan support that again didn't make it across the finish line. Expanding access to birth control that had shockingly bipartisan support, allowing pharmacists to turn over birth control to folks, but also a right to birth control bill was introduced. Expanding postpartum Medicaid eligibility. It is bonkers that we haven't done that, and there is so much bipartisan support, and so hoping next session maybe can sweep that across the finish line. Legalization of marijuana. For crying out loud, it's 2024, we are wasting tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue. We're just handing it to Michigan, we're handing it to Illinois, and it is wild. So we think about basic needs. What can fund those basic? What's going to fund schools? What can fund childcare? What can fund tax revenue from weed? So we're going to get into that next session. Also, the voting rights space, there are some technical things that have a lot of bipartisan support. Like, let us just process, not count, but just take the absentee ballots out of the envelopes because it takes a second. Let clerks and polling workers do that on the Monday before an election. But unfortunately, some wrenches thrown in the gears of getting that across the finish line prior to the November election. And as I mentioned, obviously, we have new maps. So there are new possibilities because our legislative districts are a closer reflection of the people of Wisconsin. So if we're looking ahead, the text is a little small, but we got a lot going on in the next year, and looking forward to the next legislative session. Obviously, we have the election in 40 days, but right after that election, and also we're working on it right now, is preparing for that next legislative session. How can we be sure that we are engaging, freshman legislators of both parties on civil rights and liberties issues, and make sure that that they're scared that we're going to annoy the hell out of them if they don't talk to us first or be thoughtful about the way that they're approaching the issues. Folks in both parties. And then around the corner, we're going to have another tremendously consequential state Supreme Court election, a couple months into the state legislative session that is also overlapping with when the biennial budget process is kicking off. So we're going to be busy, and we're just really excited to have everybody in this room as partners, because we will have a whole lot of ways for you to engage both in the legislative session and a lot of the electoral circuses that are coming up.
It's great, it's great. Thank you so much, Amanda. Always learn so much from all of the things, the maps and the charts. They're great. I'm going to bring up our Know Your Rights trivia folks for one quick question.
How about a round of applause if you are enjoying this annual meeting? How about another round of applause if you are thoroughly informed right now? So with this question, I want to do a little something different. We have a virtual audience. So whoever can answer this question correctly in the chat, we're going to send them a pen, one of these ones in my pocket. But the question is, true or false? You have to give your name to the police if stopped as a pedestrian. Show of hands, true or false? How many people think true?
Whatever, you might not be the answer.
Shout out to the people who think true. How many people think false? Okay, so no pins because I have participation, but Zach, let me know about the virtual chat. The correct answer is false. Officers can stop you and ask you your name because it's the law, but unless you are suspected of a crime, you are not required to give your name. Do not lie about your name because that is in fact against the law. Okay, thank you guys.
Awesome, thank you. So don't lie, but you don't have to tell her.
That part.
All right, I'm gonna invite now, Melissa Luden to join us up here. Melissa is our Coalition and Relations Advocate and a member of our Community Engagement Team. And we're gonna chat a little bit about, community engagement and what it means, what it means to be, in community, what it means to create good coalitions. If you wanna grab that mic there, Melissa. All right. We're just gonna go for it. And so to start us off here, community engagement, when you think of like the ACLU portfolio, we easily think of legal or legislative, communications, education, all of those pieces. But community engagement is sort of like a newer sort of way of understanding some of the work that we do. But here in our affiliate, we really have identified it as something that's key to the success of our integrated advocacy work. Can you share why community engagement and specifically the work of coalition building is so important to our work, whether it's our campaigns or our issues, our cases, the advocacy work that we do? Why does coalition building matter?
That's a good question. First, I kind of want to start out. There we go. Can you hear me? Okay. I think it starts with defining, like, what does community engagement mean to you? That's community engagement. The fact that we can bring a different definition to it and a different perspective. And we need that in order to be able to work on the very issues. I think when you talked about like this coalition, when we look at like the issues, for example, all the things that Amanda said that we want to work on, we have to be in community with those very people that are impacted by those very things. And sometimes that can be a little scary. You might think of I might not know how to connect with that person who was affected by it, but I care about it. And sometimes we have to dig deep to look at, I may have to just put myself out there just a little bit to be able to go in to get to know who those people are. And we have to take that risk and we have to take that chance. When we look at coalition building itself specifically, and we intertwine community engagement, which is really, we need the community to be able to make decisions on the things that impact them the most, specifically even within their own environment. And we can't do this work alone. I think about the people I see here today, My Way Out, the community, Shannon Ross is coming, Julie, who was here from Free, and other people. We got a lot. Together, when we can pool our resources and when we are actually in relationship, can we really achieve? And with coalition building specifically is really getting to understand like what are our shared values. Because without understanding what our shared values are and what drives us, can we really be effective in the work that we do?
Talk about, an example of how, this coalition building is connecting with, the folks who are living it every day, connects really well with potentially like a legal case. I know we've got one that we're working on right now. Talk a little bit about the mother young child case and how like the community aspect of it is an important part. Like it's not just the legal case, while that's significantly important, like how does the other piece connect with it too? And for I'm not a lawyer, I will point that out. But we do have a case that we're working on that's about a program that the DOC should be offering that it is not currently offering. And so we are working to try to make sure that they offer this program, which is for mothers who have a child who is under the age of 1, because we know that contact with a kid talk a bit about the community engagement side.
I would say the community engagement side, first, it's just acknowledging that we don't talk enough about the impact of incarceration on women. Why women are going into the prison system, the conditions that women have to live in that they were never designed for them, as well as the reentry needs specifically for women. I want to say that we do have some orgs, My Way Out, free, that are really trying to advance that. But with Mother Young specifically is, it's education. It's really going to the community to educate, but also too is for myself, and there's others here who have relationships with women who have gone through. In this critical one of a woman having to give birth in prison and losing her child to the foster care system or maybe a family member is extremely traumatic. And so part of community engagement comes in to understand what is it that we need. I'm formerly incarcerated. I have lived with women who have gone through this very horrible thing. I have had to be roommates with women who have had to go through this traumatic experience, and it was me that really had to pull the weight and really support them through that. And so what we recognize in that is we need processes. We have, with that process, I know we work with Black Space. Really, if we want to come in and share these stories to gain awareness and to do the impact, we have to come in to provide a safe space for that, which includes providing food, a care package, getting them connected, and also having somebody who's a therapist that can assist them, because I know some of the most skilled women who have gone through this need to have somebody to talk to. And so that, as far as community engagement coming in, to support that.
That's so powerful, Melissa. And the question I want to ask, we do this partnership building, we do this work, and it can be easy to say, well, that work belongs to y'all's department. We don't need to do community engagement, but obviously, community engagement is something that doesn't just live with one department. It should live other places. So how do you see that? What are the opportunities or things you see within, or how other departments, or how we as an affiliate see that beyond? Is it just your job to do community engagement?
That's a good question. And I'll ask you how you are. But I think that we see it is. All of us in different departments have different relationships. I think about Haley and legal, all the relationships that they have with the different attorneys across the state. I look at Amanda with her relationships with family services. Elisa and the comms team, all the access. But more specifically, it's also looking at how can we kind of work in a community as an affiliate. And I think that's what we're doing. And we're recognizing that as an affiliate, we want more people to be involved in getting to know our partners, in building these relationships. And so we're bringing everybody together to be able to do that. Would you like to share how you do it in development?
Yeah, I think, it's development's an interesting one, because oftentimes folks think that our job is really just to talk to folks and ask for money, which, yes, we do a lot of that, but it's not just about raising funds to support the work, while that is a very important part of what we do, but it's really about making those connections between our supporters and the work, and seeing our supporters as partners in the work, and really try to make folks come together and learn from each other, and individuals and also foundations. We have a really great relationship with a foundation, the Roots and Wings Foundation, who really wants to make some systematic change. And so the way that we work with them is very much about helping them to understand the community, and they create great space for that by bringing lots of organizations together. And they want to learn from us. And so it doesn't just become a situation of, well, let's create a program that fits whatever funding you want to give us. But it's more about, let's have deep and real conversation about the work and the needs and find solutions together. And so for us, we get to have hard and interesting conversations with donors, and we get to talk about the issues in real ways here at this organization that doesn't always happen in other fundraising spaces, because that is an important part of the work, not just the ask for the funds, but the conversation about why those funds matter. So yeah, it's community engagement crosses everything, and is an important part of what we do. So thank you for all the work that you and the folks on the team do. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and call up Melinda and William again here, just to chat. We're gonna chat a little bit about what's next, and what do we go from here. 40 days, as we've learned today. It's 40 days. We've heard some great things tonight about the affiliate, about what we've been up to, about what we're looking forward to. We know the election is right around the corner. And so what is next? What do our members and our donors and our supporters need to know over these next few days as we move forward?
Well, first, I hope that everybody's taking care of themselves because it's incredibly difficult to live in this political environment. So please do your very best to sleep and eat and take care of the people that are in the state with us, because I think, quite frankly, there is a day after the election and an awful lot of work to do then. So please do not just have a countdown in your head that you survive through. You have to take care of yourselves to do all the work that remains on the other side. So that's one. Two, there are many things that I could ask this room and other folks that are constant supporters for. If you're so inclined and you want to canvass with us in the 61st, you have an open and standing invitation from now all the way through Election Day. By all means, there's a whole bunch of folks that you can connect with to sign up if you'd like that. And if you are a person who doesn't feel comfortable doing that, but you know people who might, you are welcome to provide a connection for us, and that would be a great help as well. If there are attorneys in the audience, and I know that there are, and or if you know plenty of attorneys, there are several asks. We are prioritizing doing some work that is election protection work, and it takes as many hands as we can get. And so again, whether that's you or other people you know, this is a direct ask to help and support that work. That's in the run-up to the 40 days. And after that, we're always looking for people and organizations that should be closer to us. And so if you've got organizations that should be a part of our circle, but you don't know if they are or not yet, please make sure that you make that connection so that we don't leave it to chance, that it's just at a community event that we meet and we exchange cards and we follow up when we go have lunch, and we build a partnership over the course of years. Don't leave it to chance, bring people close to us. If you're interested in volunteering, there are lots of different ways to do it. Some of them you can do right from home, that you do not have to be out in public if you are just too tired to do it. But the thing that I would like to ask everybody to do is remain engaged no matter what. And that's why I began with asking you to take care of yourselves. Because it is fatiguing to be in this environment for sure. And so that takes you taking care of yourself and other people so that you can stay engaged. What about you?
Well, I agree, you gotta stay engaged, we need you to show up, that's important. I think everyone in this room understands that there are opposing forces, and so showing up is a big part of that. And also, I think supporting the ACLU is important. You all knew this was coming. So please, consider the ACLU and consider donating to organizations that are fighting for rights that we thought were basic and would be around forever, right? And volunteer. There really is nothing like the heart of a volunteer. I know you've all heard that slogan before, but it's really true. As a volunteer for the ACLU, I can honestly say that I get more from volunteering than I give, and I think you'll have that same experience. So try.
Yeah, I think there's some really exciting things coming around the corner. The election's a big thing, but we know that life doesn't stop on that date. As you saw from Amanda's chart, there are many months that come after that. And so I think, this organization will continue to fight for civil rights and civil liberties regardless of who is in the White House, regardless of who is in our state legislature. And you'll be hearing some of this as we move forward. We are in the midst of a strategic planning process where we are looking to the future. I say this oftentimes, with with the new maps and potentially a legislature that's more open and supportive to proactive civil rights and civil liberties, we really have an opportunity we haven't had in like 15 years to really have change and things that will be good for Wisconsinites. So, and the things that we would love to see happen here. And so, you know, this affiliate was founded in 1930. And so our strategic plan will be launching in April of 2025. And so we've been talking about what do we want to see happen in the next 5 years. By the time we turn 100, what are the things that we want to say we've accomplished? And so, you know, we're building on a legacy that has been around for 94 years and 95 next year. And to say by 100, we want to see these things happen. And the work can't happen without all of you with us in that, because the ACLU of Wisconsin is not just the 25 folks who work for this affiliate. It's all of the members, and it's all of the supporters, and it's all of the partners that work with us. So, do we want to share the new? We have a new mission statement, an updated mission statement. So I can read this. The American Civil Liberties of Union of Wisconsin fights to protect, defend, and expand civil rights and liberties, particularly for communities historically denied their rights, through nonpartisan advocacy, community education, litigation, and organizing, in order to create a more just future. Woo! And then our vision, the thing, you know, I would say a vision is something that gets you out of bed in the morning. It's the thing that makes you want to keep doing this work. And our vision is that the ACLU of Wisconsin envisions a just society in which the dignity of every person is respected and our collective liberation is realized. This is what we're fighting for, y'all. And so, 2030, when we're 100 years old, I want to be able to look back and say we did this, and we did this together. So we need you in the fight. I'm going to put up here, there are lots of QR codes here. But our people will be at the tables. Let us know how you want to get involved. If there's not an opportunity up here that fits with you, let's have coffee. Let's figure out what fits. What are you excited about, and how we can connect with you. So thank you, Melinda. Thank you, William. Thank you to all of our speakers, and thank you for sticking with us. I know we're a little over time, but it's great to be here with you, and I'm excited to hear from all of you over the next year, your hopes and your dreams for Wisconsin, and how we can work together to really kind of define what the future might be for our state and the people who live here. So thank you so much for being here. Please stop by the tables on your way out to chat with our staff, to sign up to Canvas or do other things. And then just a quick note for the staff, don't leave until we get a group picture at some point. So that's the one thing I had to say. So thank you so much for being here. We are so happy to have you here, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.